All right, I think we're live. Hey everyone, it is Neha from College Shortcuts. I hope you're having a great day. We've been doing some really great Facebook Lives recently, and I thought it might be a little fun for you guys to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of what it's like here at College Shortcuts. I'm really excited because I have one of my favorites on my team, William, here, who has been talking to parents pretty much all day, every day, nonstop. So I was thinking, William, maybe you could just introduce yourself, say hi. So a lot of the parents can put a to a name since they're getting calls from you all the time. And while you're doing that, just so you know, I'm going to be eating my little masala bowl here because I was craving a nice warm curry today. Now, for everyone watching, just so you know, this is a much more casual, behind the scenes, fun Facebook Live. But William, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is William Oliver, and I have been I've probably spoken to a couple thousand parents now in the last 6 or 7, I think it's going on 7 months since I got connected with you, Neha. And I came on board, and you said that you needed help with operations and marketing. And I remember you said it's busy time of the year, so I need someone who can help out. And I didn't know anything about the company at the time. I definitely didn't know anything about the college market in the United States because I'm born and raised in Canada. So I got this kind of first 45 days was like, wow, I have no idea what I got myself into here. And I got to speak with all these parents, and I think I knew probably less than they did. And so for the last 6 or 7 months, I've been able to learn all about the college market in the United States, and I've been able to speak with a couple thousand parents, and now kind of manage or oversee about 150 families and their accounts. And it's been kind of a whirlwind and quite a journey. And I know when I talk to some parents now, I say, when I started, I knew less than you did. So I know you might be stressed out and you might not know what you're getting yourself into. But that's why our company exists, is to kind of help people out from that same frightened person that I was when we started to now being like, oh, I know all about this. I know all about the colleges.
Oh,
Uh,
it's
so
funny, William. Like, I feel like now I'm at a place where the minute I know the grade of the kid, I know exactly what they need.
yeah, yeah. But it's weird to know that when someone doesn't know the process, then they're in like panic mode because it's there's so many schools, and every grade's different, and every service that I know that behind the scenes no one else knows. So
Also, not everyone knows because it's not like I'm trying to think of something that people all know that they need to get. Like, it's not like braces, right? Like, you know what braces are, you know you need to get them, right?
yeah,
So, or you think you need them if you have cracked teeth.
you only do it once in your life. So, for example, it's kind of like I always use the analogy of a financial planner. And all of a sudden now, for the first time in your life, you have money. And then you're like, what do I do with this money? I need someone to help me plan my finances. So you call a financial planner, and you're like, I've never thought about investing into a stock. I don't even know what a stock is. I've never thought about a mutual fund. And so there's this entire world of education that has to happen. And so that's why I kind of like to look at what we're doing is a little bit like that, is most of the families have no idea what the SAT or ACT is. They don't know why they would need tutoring or consulting. And
I forget I'm so knee deep in it that I'm like, oh yeah, you need this, and this.
I know.
For me, it's like, and now that I think about it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, maybe they need a second. Like, read the brochure. Because I'm
they,
like, I know exactly what you need, and we're going to get it done, right? Because it's so first nature or whatever. But like, I think you're right, because I remember when I first sat down with the financial planner, and I felt like she was speaking Japanese to me. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Like
yeah,
I had one mom recently that was like I've never taken the SAT test, and
yeah,
understanding her, she goes, the SATs, and I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, the SATs test, and that's when I realized she was trying to say SAT, but she spelled it out. I mean, she didn't spell. I spelled it out. She was saying what the word was.
yeah.
Like, that's how far her knowledge was. She just read it as, in a blog post, someone was just screaming the word fat.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's kind of like I grew up playing golf, and you would yell, if you hit a golf ball at someone else on another hole that you weren't on, or you thought your ball was going to hit someone, you would yell four, right? But someone who's never golfed before has no idea that they yell four, so that they just yell like, "Oh fuck." So they're like, they just yell that to
Or
the
on Facebook Live.
well, I mean, but that's a real life story. That's what they actually do because they have no knowledge,
No, that,
so
I would not know. I think a golf ball would totally hit me. I golfed once because I
yeah.
got to it.
So
Yeah.
that's what they do. But like with parents that I speak to, it's kind of like a similar thing is they just have no idea. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone says, "Oh yeah, the SATs test is coming up," and you're like, what are you talking about?" And so the knowledge is like fairly limited in that area. So I think it's kind of I mean, as they start to learn more as they're going and they get more comfortable. But speaking with you, the parents, I know when I refer a parent to speak with you, they have no knowledge of what's going on. And when they speak to you, you know the answers like so quickly and so easily that it kind of shocks people. They're like, I don't even know where to start.
Email yesterday for a possible client who's trying to sign with us. And you're like,
Yeah.
please forward your questions to Neha. And I was literally sitting there on the toilet. Let's be honest, everyone emails on the toilet, okay? And I was like, you need this for tutoring. A C is unacceptable for if you're trying to enter this school. And then you need these packages. Actually, I recommend these two. And then let me know.
Yeah.
Mom,
Yeah.
whoa, like, how does Neha already know the strategy? I'm like, well, it's kind of like if you did something 1,000 times. Like, you wouldn't ask, you probably won't know this because you don't need to get your eyebrows done. But, like, you don't ask an eyebrow threading lady, like, hey, how do you know where to put the arch?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't ask your chef, like, who's made the dish 1,000 times at the restaurant, wait, are you sure you're going to put cumin in it, right? Like, the same thing, I think, goes in this industry when you're so knowledgeable. You're just like, okay, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, that's a good example. And you've got to a level of mastery, whereas most people will never, ever get to that level of mastery within the industry. For example, when someone asks a simple question, when do I do my application or submit my application? Right away, you know exactly the date because you've done it for 10 years in a row and you know exactly, you know, why you need to apply at that specific date. But all the parents that I speak with, no one knows why or when that date is. And so things like that are a little bit more, I would say the more I've learned, the more I realize how technical it is that what type of business you've built. It's a very technical business. There's so much jargon in the industry that when you come into it for the first time, it is a bit like speaking Spanish and you don't know Spanish and you want to go sit down with a whole bunch of people and they've been speaking Spanish for 10 years, and then you sit down and you're like, I don't even know one word of what you just said, so I don't know where to get started. And I think that's where most of the parents that I speak to and most of the families, and I think that's why we created the family plan, is that was what most of the families were having. It's like, why don't you just come and sit down with us? Why don't you join the organization? And I know you always use join the family when you write emails. Is
No,
like, because you understand they have to be part of that organization to actually start to have the conversations, and they're not going to learn everything within the first hour or 2 hours. So
it's kind of like when you go to the gym. William unfortunately hears all my analogies of trying to lose weight constantly.
yeah,
It's one of my main goals, and so it's kind of like if you work out with someone and they're like, oh yeah, and by the way, you need to do intermittent fasting. We need this, we need this, and you're like, dude, I'm only gonna do like one or two of those things, like
yeah,
overwhelming the first amount of time.
yeah,
And like, William, I would love for you to speak to the fact that like one of the things that we noticed too in this last year was just like the amount of parents that we're dealing with that have never gone to college yet.
oh yeah, yeah. Or the times are very different. So even if they did go to college, the experience now and the process now is extremely different For example, a lot of the parents that they talk to, they say, it's so competitive. When they went to college, any college would accept them because there wasn't that much competition. They just went to a local college. The other thing that we're finding is like the trend towards going out of state for a college. Now people have a choice to go out of state. So what we're seeing a lot of is some of the colleges are becoming hyper competitive. We're getting calls from people in India or Malaysia. Yeah.
So just, William and I go through this document of 1,000 parents. Crazy. And did you see that I had to write down like international numbers? It was like 9198. No.
Yeah.
It's not a U.S. number. Like there's two in the number.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, there's like people from India reaching out now that are like heavily. I mean, we've dealt with it in the past, but it's like they just really want. Now it's like global, right? Because they're applying from all over the place.
Yeah, there's more opportunity to travel out of state or out of country for education. So a lot more people, and so the level of competition seems to have gone way up. One of the things I know we've talked about that I think is really important, that I've learned anyways, is the idea that your college consultant is your first investment in the college process. And so a lot of the parents that we speak to, they think the first step in the journey through going through college is actually when they've got accepted. And that's the first major investment that they're going to make. And we're kind of needing to educate people and say, you need to start thinking about this. Like, we're getting a lot of calls from people in grade 8, kids in grade 8, and their families are starting to think about the investment 4 years prior to when they're going to college. And that's been kind of enlightening or shocking a little bit.
Never actually. I've noticed a huge trend of earlier on, and I think the truth is the schools aren't, they're not giving enough information. Like, that are tailored to a specific student. I mean, I was talking to a mom today, and she was like, we've been at the school since August, and we had one parent-teacher conference for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So the teacher sat us down and just told us everything that was wrong. And that was it. And I was like, I would be so mad. Like, that's like weighing myself once every 6 months.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the industry has changed so much, and there's not really enough people, or really anyone for that matter, that's kind of staying on top of everything. So that when parents are phoning you, I also get this call all the time. I've been watching Neha for like 6 months, and she's the only one who's teaching all of this stuff. And so I get a lot of parents that are just really, really grateful that there is an organization that's there to help them out. I remember the story from Mark Zuckerberg, and he said when they were building Facebook, no one else was doing it. No one else actually even cared. Like, right. No one cared. And that's kind of what I feel like in the college admissions process and with tutoring, is like, I feel like there's not really anyone else that cares enough to take care of all the families that we see that are calling in. And so in a lot of ways, I find that there's just no one seems to care about this really important problem. And that might be because there's other problems that are out in the world that may seem to be more important. So people kind of just leave the kids to kind of try to figure it out on their own. But I think that you've built an organization that really does care. And that I think a lot of parents actually feel that from you, as they say, like, why is she doing this? Like, why is she actually doing all this work? And I think it's because you actually really care. And you can see when students are getting in, like to UPenn or any of these schools, they send you the acceptance letter, and you're kind of the first person that they're.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got a lot of text, videos, emails, and it's hard, right? Like, I want to share that stuff, but I can't because of client confidentiality.
Yeah.
Cool, right? Like, most people don't know, we got students into like hundreds of colleges in the last few years, and well, while I would love it that people would love to share it, they also are a little scared,
Yeah.
The whole caring part, I remember when I was younger, and my parents were looking for a college consultant. And I hate to say this, but to be really real, most of the college consultants were like a one-woman shop of a woman in her late 50s or 60s who got their one daughter into a top school. And so they started this company with this website that has like 3 pages. And they're like, oh, I got my kid in. Or they're like a really arrogant admissions counselor from a top university. And they're like, kind of rude to parents on the phone. That's the big one that really gets me on my soapbox. It's like, I mean, I was talking to a dad recently who was like, Neha, I've talked to you and I've talked to 2 other companies, of which one of them was just, he was on the phone, he was so egotistical, he was so arrogant with me, and then he asked me to pay like 6 or 7 figures in the end with all the stuff, but the way he treated me, and he goes, I'm a successful dad, I run my own company, I'm smart, I'm sharp, and like, I don't like being talked down to that.
Yeah.
I was like, no one does, especially if they're going to ask for that much.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of that as parents describing or sharing. One of the things that they see in the market is what you've talked about, like an independent consultant that hasn't built an organization or a team around them, and that knows that they can take advantage of a inefficiency or something in the system that might not be working out well, but they go kind of over the top, and so they charge like 50 grand or something like that to do the consulting process. And I have speaking to a lot of families, is like that just doesn't, it's not affordable, and it's not I don't believe the right thing to do. And so I think a lot of people have appreciated the fact that you've worked on a lot of different program packages that cater to every family, and are looking after even the little guys that might not be able to afford even rates as they start to get higher. And so I think that's been something that's been an interesting part of the journey, is to know that there's a lot of different companies out there. But like you said, a lot of people are just independents. They're not building an organization that want to look after a lot of people. So
Right.
I commend you for doing that. That's been kind of a cool part of the process, is to watch you build to actually look after a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
because for a long time it was always like, I just was realizing, like, I got asked today, I'm about to get featured in a major podcast for entrepreneurship, and the guy asked a very specific question, like, why did you start creating these different consulting packages? You were already getting paid so much just for yourself. And I said, what about everyone else? And then
yeah,
what else? I go, what about the fact that my parents moved here with $20 in their pocket? Like, what about those people? Like that
yeah,
had practically nothing at the beginning, and they needed just some mentorship. Like,
yeah,
so I think that's one of the big things that, like, I just got to a place of like, we need to try to help as many kids as possible. The fact that there's millions of juniors applying, like just Houston alone has 6 figures amount of students applying every year to college. So
yeah,
imagine if there's millions of students applying, and we're barely scratching the surface.
yeah, yeah,
World domination. That's our goal is we are going to literally help every junior moving forward get into the college of dreams. Like,
yeah,
eventually we will be hooked into possibly every high school. We could find ways to replace college counselors so that we have systems and programs that are much more effective. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this problem could be solved, and I think the most frustrating part is that people are lowering their expectations in the college process, super bad. And the second is they're just relying on a college counselor at school who doesn't even know their kid's full name to make a decision that's possibly $100,000 or $200,000 or more if the kid decides to live at home into their 30s and doesn't even know what the hell they're doing.
yeah,
That's an expensive problem, by the way.
yeah,
Our generation, we are known for being couch potatoes. So,
yeah,
and it's unfortunate because I'm definitely the opposite couch potato. Like we were talking about, products for overachievers earlier.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so one of the things I'm curious about is for yourself, like you've been in this for so long and you've done this for a very long period of time and you're passionate, very passionate about reaching all these families. What would you say would be the one thing that for you is your biggest frustration with all the families that you want to reach and that may be a kind of something in your heart where you want to help all these kids? What would be your biggest frustration?
My biggest frustration is when a family knows they're interested in getting help, but they're not willing to pull the trigger.
Gotcha.
Because that means they're starving their kids of their dreams and starving their kids of possibly an incredible future because of indecision.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm an extremely decisive person, so I don't understand the mentality of, oh, let me still think about it, or oh, I'm looking around. I'm like, you're already late to the party.
Yeah.
Like,
So what would you say in that decision-making process? What's on the other side of the, because I've seen a lot of families that I've worked with on the other side and get to see the emails once they've made the decision and what it looks like and what it feels like on the other side. What would you say is on the other side of the fence that they're not willing to jump over, that they might be scared or intimidated about?
I mean, like what's in the gold pot across from the rainbow?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
like the gold pot is like a very less stressed out teenager. That to me is freaking priceless.
Gotcha.
Another one is they see an increase in their kids' academic future success.
Yeah,
Third, a lot of couples actually become a lot happier.
gotcha.
I have helped some marriages out. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool to say I do that.
Yeah,
Fourth, the kid gains an incredible like I'm awesome attitude,
gotcha.
also priceless, the confidence. And then fifth, I mean you get incredible results. Like that's the part that the results just speak for themselves, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd say the gold pot's pretty freaking big because it's pretty much priceless, which means it has a never ending, limitless amount of awesome soul money tokens in there that
yeah.
parents get to just grab and scoop up as much as they want when they work with us.
And I've noticed with a lot of families is that it's tough to know what it feels like to be inspired once they're working with an organization that really cares. It seems to like lift their spirits to a point where they feel like they can accomplish something beyond what they might have been able to accomplish. It's kind of like that idea where most people are hesitant to want to bring on a mentor because they don't know what that mentor knows and they might not trust that that mentor knows what they say they do. But the moment that they end up working with that mentor, it's like, wow, if I didn't know this information, what would my life be like? And it's almost a transformative process to be able to speak with some of the mentors.
Totally. And I think also a big one is the fact that, you know, a lot of people have been burned
Mm,
so part because, I think, with some of our clients, they've been burned as parents, they've been burned with the school, they've been burned by a teacher, they've been burned by other parents lying about how little Johnny got in, they've been burned by other college consultant quackery. And
gotcha.
come to us, they've got a big freaking wall we have to climb.
Yeah,
Uh, even when they do all their homework. And I'm like, do your homework
yeah,
and be ready to make a decision, but don't don't keep kicking the tires because if your kid is like seventh grade or older, you're already late to the party, like I said. I was talking to a mom today who was a first grader and I said, there's so much stuff you need to be doing now. And she goes, what are you talking about? I was like, um, so all the math your kid's learning is on the SAT. All the English skills they're learning, all that grammar, that writing, that reading, that's all on the SAT too. That's all part of the building. Every single subject they take later. The way their grades are early on completely change the possibility of them going into honors or higher level classes.
yeah. So it almost seems like a lot of parents, and I know this from speaking with a lot of parents, they feel like they can just jump to the end outcome and not have to,
That's because that's the way the school system is set up.
yeah.
College
And
process starts when? 11.
But the problem that I've seen with that is that the fees that a family will pay if they wait till last minute skyrocket. So like that's why some of the consulting organizations that I've seen on the market where their families are getting quoted at 25 or $30,000 is because they've waited till the last year and all of a sudden they need so much help. So that's what I've seen anyways. So tried to kind of get people into a family plan earlier on so that they're not paying these extraordinary fees later on.
Absolutely. Because that, it's kind of like it's kind of like if you're trying to fit in a size 4 dress and you're a size 14. It's kind of hard. You can't unless you want to chop your limbs off. You can't lose all that weight in enough time. Like
Yeah,
to any goal, there's consistency and there's certain habits that need to happen.
yeah,
And I tell parents all the time, the study habits need to start a lot earlier. Otherwise, you've got an uphill battle while your teenager is dealing with hormonal changes, while they're dealing with social stuff,
yeah,
and you never set the foundation up. You just let it, you
yeah,
keep going.
yeah.
I'm telling a mom today, she goes, yeah, I had this one kid I started with in second grade. She was my first client. Now she's already in college, and she goes, you look so young. I was like, brown don't crack. Like, yeah, I know. It's a lot of work. I mean, not like work, but it's a lot of work to make sure you stay looking young. Anyway, so
Yeah,
I told her, look, I said I started with her in second grade. We literally got her into the college of her dreams. She's studying medicine at a top school, and her mom says to me, like, even through high school, she knew exactly what to do because I set her up for exactly how to do flashcards, exactly how to study for that. She's like, I had the easiest teenager
yeah,
of academics. Now, socially, there were some things, that got challenging as most teenagers start to rebel and say no to you all the time. But the fact of the matter was, she was a caring, loving individual who really, in my opinion, hands down one of the favorite teenagers I've ever worked with because of the amount of time I've gotten to spend with her, spent over time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I do believe that most things start early. You don't go to buy shopping for houses, right? I mean, you don't go to buy a house and shop for it that day and buy it.
yeah.
You
It seems like it's almost a 5 year journey, and you should be planning 5 years ahead of the time of making that final application. And I find that some families plan maybe 5, 6 months before. Like
know,
I'm shocked to see
hold
that.
up. I got a client in December that planned 5 days before.
Yeah, I know that was going into.
William, this is a funny story. I'm on Christmas vacay, and William goes, "Hey, you got this one little kid that really has some help," and I'm like, "Dude, you're kidding me. How did we get a last minute client? I don't want to do this." And he goes, "Can you do it?" So I'm reaching out to my essay team, like they're all on holiday, and we just squeeze the crap out and we get it done in
Yeah,
72
yeah,
hours. Just so you know, William and everyone listening, we're not doing that anymore. I am not going back and forth over Christmas, New Year's
well,
Eve.
that's where I think that it's I think you've done a good job of trying to create a program structure where there's like early birds and early bird program and regular program and then last minute because people need to be aware that when it's last minute the prices are ridiculous because it's just so much stress on the team and so I'd say I hope that people are encouraged to get in on the early bird programs because I think it's like the earlier families can get in, the less stress. And I think a lot of people have been asking that question and wondering about that. It's like it is a stressful process when we get all the stress of the families who are kind of panicking or stressed out, and we have to take that on. So to limit our need to do that, I think it's great that you're creating these programs that make it so that families don't they know if you help us out, we'll help you out. We'll reduce your costs by up to 50% if you're willing to start early versus waiting until the last minute.
Yeah, totally. And I think also the big thing is, one of the fun things I did recently was I decided to write an email about just the whole concept of like female empowerment, what's going on with the movement. Right? I mean, every single day there's a new news coming out, about women power issues and all this stuff. And I feel like one of the big things that I notice too is that a lot of times moms and dads are on the same page. Have you noticed that in the calls?
Yeah.
And it's concerning to me because for me it's like this is a huge team decision,
Yeah.
right? Like huge, these two people have sometimes be on the same page, and the stress that we sometimes take when you know we're trying to convince both. I mean, it gets really complicated. You know,
Yeah, I'd say what I've learned, one is to have so much respect for the parents because they have such a difficult decision to make
right?
in this decision that oftentimes I'm sitting there going, I wouldn't want to have to make this decision. And then number two is to understand and know the family dynamics between, you know, it tends to be the case, and it's not always the case, but it tends to be the case where a father ends up making the final decision on the actual price or the cost of the program, and then a mother is the one that's done the research to actually find the program, and so the mom's trying to convince the dad that they should go for it.
Totally. And like, and she's trying to like regurgitate a conversation
Yeah,
within 48 hours. Like most people,
yeah,
90% of what's been talked about, and he's not convinced because the price is like intense. And then he's like, "What?" And it gets really complicated. And I feel really bad because I really want, for us, it's so much better when someone, in my opinion, signs up, gets an assessment, books a time with both parents. We can all be on the same page,
yeah,
versus one trying to convince the other, and then the other one wants to sometimes feel powerful and be like, hold on, wait, I want to make this decision. Like, what?
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
man,
There's a bit of
help the kid.
there's sometimes a bit of tension there. So
A
I
bit,
think, well, yeah,
a lot.
I would encourage the families that we speak with, and I always do. I encourage the moms because they're doing such a good job of doing a lot of the research, and we do find about 80% of the families that I speak to, it is the mom that's doing the research. Sometimes it's even the child that has found us and said, "I
Oh,
watched Neha."
I was like, I know, I got it. I talked to a teenager today. I was like, hello. She's like, hello.
Yeah,
Like, hey, do you have a kid that needs tutoring test for college assessment? I don't have any children. I was like,
yeah,
what? Are you sure? She goes, no, I don't have. I'm a kid. I was like, oh, all right. And I put my like teenager hat on. I'm like, wait, are you like in 11th grade? She was like, yeah. I was like, so let me guess, you haven't really studied for the SAT much. She goes, no, but don't tell me, mom.
yeah.
Calling me.
That's actually another really great point is that we find when we speak to and when I speak to the families, I'm oftentimes put in touch with the kids, and what they will say is very different from what their parents say. So their parents will say, "Yeah, she's great at studying. She's done so much studying." And I talk to her, she's like, "No, I haven't done anything." And then the parents will say, "I think she wants to be an engineer." And then I talk to her and she says, "I want to go into marketing." And it's like one of the big things that I find with the consulting process I encourage families to do is like as they go through the process, I've learned what they pay for is what they're going to get. And what they're paying for is the idea to get some pressure from an outside force or voice that's going to say, and going to uncover or discover the truth of what's actually really going on. And without that, it's shocking to see how many families are just kind of, they don't know what they don't know until someone else goes in and says, hey,
Yeah,
what is, you know?
yeah, that's a big one. Just for everyone,
Yeah,
Neha Gupta, founder of College Shortcuts. I've got William, one of my amazing team members, account managers, who talks with parents nonstop every single day. We are live, so if you want to ask us any questions, this is a great time. You've got us backstage pass in the College Shortcuts office. Um, One of the things that I always find fascinating is when I'm on a group call when we sign up for the family plan and we go ahead and we do our consulting call, is when I ask about grades or how school's going, and I hear this like kind of long pause, and I know there's the kids about to like say their grades, and they're like, I don't even know if I know yet. But then, they talk about, I ask them about the class, ask which ones are the hardest, and I know just from my data, like if a student is in a certain class and they're making a certain grade and they talk about it as being one of the hard subjects, it's because they haven't managed their time effectively, one, and number two, they don't know how to study properly. So here they are, and they're spending this much time to study for a test.
Yeah.
That subject, this much for all the. That's a major problem because that means that all of this energy is spent here, and then you see a drop in all these other grades in this one class. That could be easily taught by a tutor, but you don't know what you don't know. So most parents are like, "Oh, study hard, burn yourself to the ground. I'll feed you under the door." And that was my parents. The parents like, "Oh, well, just stick your tray under the door like you're in jail. You just sit there in your room and you study." And that was my life for a long time. So I get that's the mentality. We've now kind of moved into like 2018 where it's all about being smart and being efficient. Like, why burn yourself to the ground? You can work smarter. That's huge. I mean, why not just get the shortcut?
Yeah.
Work has to be done. But wouldn't you rather just get the shortcut of the? See, like I'm always about like doing the least amount of work to get the maximum result. And I think about it back in my high school days, I was trying to do the same thing. It's like, what is the least amount of studying I can do to make an A+? And I went to write, and I remember, oh my god, this is fun. I remember my best friend from college, Christine, who went to Yale, eventually grad school, full ride scholar.
Yeah.
she literally read, like we were in the same class, she would read all of the books plus all of the extra books. I would not do that. We would have the same grade as your professor. And she hated me for it. And I said, it's not on the test. Why are you reading all that extra stuff? Yourself out getting all those in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can relate to that. My study habits at university were definitely the shortcut habits. And I think that what you're speaking to with efficiency is the kind of the bottom line of what we see a lot of families not doing. And so the ability to be hyper efficient and know exactly what to do and what not to do, I think is a critical piece of the puzzle because it's so complicated. Even with the essays, writing essays to the different colleges and stuff like that, it's like, what colleges should I choose? What shouldn't I choose? How many do I actually apply to? All of those things. That whole process for an hour of a consultation with you or your team, they can just learn all of that. Just go right to the end. Here's what you do. A, B, C, D, like all the way through. And within a couple hours, I think that's where families have been really happily impressed by the service that you're providing is that, and I know of the couple hundred families that I've worked with intimately, we've had 3 families that have had an issue with not having full satisfaction guarantee from the service. And I know that you're very good about if a family isn't 100% satisfied, just give them back their money because
like I need to know.
Yeah, you care way more about the reputation of the company at this point because the idea is that you have this knowledge and you're trying to pass it to as many people as possible. And sometimes I can see where your frustration would come in where families just, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So you have to sit there and just go, oh, this is going to suck for your son or daughter because you have all this knowledge that you want to pass along to them. So I see that's what you're doing a lot of is trying to get it out to more people faster.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to know the number one biggest mistake people do when they're in knee deep in the college admissions process that I see year after year. What is it, Neha?
What is it?
So basically, when the student, William's like, what? I thought my phone was a
No, I want to know. I want to know.
He's like, the biggest mistake that I see over and over is the way a teenager approaches college admissions process. They'll go into the Common App. They won't even freaking work outside of the Common App. And they take their essays one college at a time.
Oh, yeah.
So they're writing, like, first of all, not getting it edited, not figuring out how to do it, not, like, painstakingly like we do. are literally writing all of these separate essays, not realizing the same questions can be asked over and over by many colleges. And I've had parents like do this and then, or they work with another company and they were doing this and they come to me and I'm like, whoa, you just did like 150 hours over what you needed to be doing.
Yeah.
I hate it when I say that, but then they look at it and they're like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I don't think, and why are you editing this?
Yeah.
Like,
So my phone is gonna die here, Neha. So if there's any other kind of questions, I think I've got a couple percent, 4% left. Um, what do you think? What else do you think like parents would be wanting to know from us? I know I've kind of shared a little bit, and I haven't been able to, most people don't know me from behind the scenes or my face, so I hope this has kind of provided some people a little bit of idea of what your account managers are doing and how we're trying to help families. Do you think there's anything else that parents would want to know about me or about what I do?
um, I think, just one thing I want to share is, you worked at massive companies with massive audiences, with massive impact in the personal development world. And I
Yeah,
think that's really important for people to know. You're not like a slick car salesman that sells like, you're someone that really cares and you've had experience at other companies in this role, but they're all companies that are focused on moving humanity forward.
yeah. I think that's a big thing is that I've done a lot. Well, typically I do operations, so as like a COO for any type of startup or for anyone who doesn't know, as chief operating officer for any type of startup or company that wants to be a larger organization. So I've been doing that for 12 years now. And so when I go into an organization that I see there's an opportunity to help with operations, then what I do is I try to streamline the operations. And a lot of parents ask me about this, as I say to the parents, my number one responsibility is to protect the parents and ensure that they are well looked after. That's number one, because there's millions of parents out there that can be our customers, and we want to protect them and make sure that they're always looked after. That's why we implemented things like the satisfaction guarantee. Secondly, is that I want to protect the organization itself and make sure that the organization is looked after. But then, more important than even both of those, the parents and the organization, and our number one thing that I know that you're super focused on is the kids, right? So if it's like if the kids aren't looked after, then we're not doing our job. So I like to know, like, I was a camp counselor when I was 17. I was a resident advisor, so I've spent a lot of my time when I was younger actually looking after kids, and that's why it's kind of fit in nicely. Is like when I was a camp counselor, I had a bunk of 30 little kids that I looked after, and they were all the ages of 11 to 13. And it was my job to look after them. And one of them now actually works at Facebook as a product manager, and he was my little bunkmate. And I think I got some good stories to share about him if the guys at Facebook ever want to know. But he's like, I love seeing people's progression, as I know you do. So I think that's why it's kind of worked out well. So
Well, thanks, William, for being on. I
you're
love
welcome.
our show. And if you guys have any questions, we're always looking at comments. So please feel free to comment below. Make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and of course, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at collegeshortcuts.com. We send a lot of great tidbits your way as well. So thanks everyone for being on here tonight.
Nice. I'll talk to you in a bit, Neha. My phone is gonna die at 1% right now. So
Okay,
thanks for doing this.
bye.
Okay, bye.